All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Just give folks a moment or two to hop in the webinar. Great. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, especially if you're on the West Coast here. Thank you for joining us today for an NBDA Supplier Sync webinar. Today is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025, and our Supplier Sync topic today is one I think everyone can relate to: want a more profitable bike shop? Stop guessing, start tracking with Citrus Lime. Today, we're joined by Patrick Clapp and Jim Vincent Jr., both account executives at Citrus Lime. We thank you both for being here today. They're going to be sharing how bike shops can use Citrus Lime's cloud point of sale to gain better visibility into their business, improve inventory decisions, and drive real trackable growth. Profitability does not need to be a guessing game. It starts with better tracking and smarter tools. And before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping notes. This is a webinar Zoom meeting, so we cannot see you all as attendees, kind of in the conversation, but we encourage questions, comments throughout the session. So if something sparks a question, sparks a comment, please drop those questions into the Zoom chat or use the Q&A feature, and we'll answer those pertinent as we go. We'll also save some time at the end if folks have questions as well. And if you'd like to update your Zoom display name to include your name, your shop name, and your state, I'm just going to paste a quick tutorial into chat on how to do so from Zoom. Requires a few steps, whether you're on mobile or desktop there. So yeah, thank you so much, Patrick and Jim, for being here today. Let's start with a quick introduction. We always love to know folks' background. Can you tell us a bit about your roles at Citrus Lime today and how you both work with bike retailers?
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. Good morning and welcome. I'm Patrick Clapp. I'm an account executive for Citrus Lime. I have over 20 years of bike experience in the industry, everything from servicing bikes at bike shops to providing dealer support at manufacturers. The bulk of my job with Citrus Lime is to act as a consultant. I'm helping retailers get to the root cause of their challenges and then walking them through the solutions that allow them to reach their goals.
My name is Jim Vincent Jr. I am a senior account executive with Citrus Lime. I think that's because I have a beard. That's how I get the senior title.
I'm working on
I do some sales, but my primary focus is supplier integration management. So I work very closely with suppliers to get data feeds. I've lost track of my number of years in the bike industry, so let's just say it's been a while. And I just really enjoy working with shops, helping to solve their problems, and working with suppliers to get the most accurate and the most consistent data into their systems.
Awesome. I would say that's probably one of the least fun to talk about, right? Inventory accuracy, all that behind the scenes stuff that, we appreciate using every day, but don't know exactly what goes into it. So appreciate both your perspectives here. And I will turn it over to you guys to present.
Great. Before we get too far in, we'd love to hear from the viewers during the slides. We will try to answer questions in real time. Jim and I will be bouncing back and forth, presenting and answering questions. We're kind of doing a slightly informal, slightly formal. We have somewhat of a script, but we also just want to interact with y'all. So please do ask questions. Citrus Lime is very hands-on with our retailers, and we don't want this webinar to be any different. So please feel welcomed to take part. All right. So, I went to the wrong slide, my bad. A little about Citrus Lime. We are an end-to-end point of sale and e-commerce platform specifically for bike shops. We've been in business for over 25 years. Our UK shops have risen to lofty heights using the tools and understanding that we equipped them with. We saw a true need for the same in the US, where we've been for about 3 years now. We have the best support team in the business, made up of real Citrus Lime employees who know the bike world in and out. Our company has been founded and is run by people who love the bike industry and genuinely want the independent bike shop to succeed. We're really proud of the work we do. And just like y'all, we're in the bike industry for the long haul.
And Patrick, if I can, just one other thing I just want to reiterate is the fact that Citrus Lime is a purpose-built tool specifically for bicycle shops, and our design and our approach is to solve common problems and common challenges within that industry. So try and keep that as a context as we walk through some of this stuff. It's important to understand that we exist because of independent bike retailers, and we exist because we aim to help them grow and help them to solve any kind of business challenges that they have or data challenges that they have, and just to make a bike shop more enjoyable to run and less admin work. So just something to keep in mind as we talk through these slides.
Yeah, to build on what Jim was just saying, a lot of our discussions with retailers kind of takes the place of a peer. We want to understand how your shop is doing. We want to get to the bottom of the problems to figure out whether we can help you solve them, or whether we can even solve them at all. Okay, so sorry, I'm realizing that I have to keep clicked on the screen with the presentation order for my clicks to do anything. All right, so the keystone of today's webinar is the magic P word, profitability. This is a really interesting word in our business because everyone seems to want it, but no one really knows how to get it. I always thought it was really funny to hear the way people at trade shows or on YouTube videos spoke about profitability. You know, just be more profitable. Go on, do it. Just like that, right? Be more profitable. We're waiting. Joking aside, it's not that simple, obviously. There are nuanced challenges to all different bike shops that are keeping them from being profitable. There's no catch-all solution. That's kind of where Citrus Lime comes in. We're not just here to say be more profitable. Like we were talking about earlier, we want to analyze the problems that are keeping you from being profitable and figure out where and if our tools can be used to make a more efficient and more profitable bike shop. There's no one answer. We do have a set of solutions that can help most bike shops. But again, the reason we go into such detail with each shop as we learn about you is to figure out the exact execution of every solution that we can offer you. So here's a really tough question for everyone. Are you profitable? Now, before you answer that to yourself, what do we mean by that? Plainly put, profitability means that you are getting more money out of the business than you are putting in. Now, profitability doesn't always mean that's your first goal as a bike shop, right? But it is a metric that makes it so that all other goals that you have are sustainable. So for example, let's say your goal is to provide a handful of people with decent wages, a cool job, give fantastic support and expertise to your customer base, and continue to develop your local cycling community. But you're spending more on your business than you're making from it. Well, that's not profitable. Is it the end of the story? Absolutely not. There's a variety of ways that we can help you churn that into something that's more profitable. You can sustain that for a long time. You know, you can lose a little bit of money every single year and be perfectly fine for 30, 40, 50 years. That's fine. Being profitable means you can continue to do the things that you want to do better and better and better and better each year. So we want to help you do that. So how do we get there? We have three main focuses. Improved efficiency is the first. If we're making the same or more money, but spending less resources to get there, we are becoming more efficient and more profitable. The structured workflows and intuitive tools of CloudPOS will help you spend less time at the keyboard and more time with your customers. If you think out throughout your entire day, the amount of time you go through and try to figure out, well, hold on, I have 24 of these bottles in stock on the computer, but I clearly only have one in my hands. What's the problem with that? Or, hey, where did you put the special order item? Oh, it's over there. We normally put it here. There are all these things, little tiny bits and pieces that continue to chip away at your available time and resources throughout the day. So improving your efficiency is a really, really good way at making your bike shop more profitable.
And Patrick, if I can just chime in one more thing there. So I think sometimes profitability, and I'm probably overstating the obvious here, but I think that sometimes people think of profitability as simply making more money. Sometimes making more money isn't the path to profitability, but cutting your costs and things that are eating away at your revenue can also increase your profitability. So simply adding more money on top of what you do today is the easy way to look at it. But I think you also have to really focus on the costs and the things that you can do to control those costs One of the things that Citrus Lime does well is it uses data to show you where you might be acting in an inefficient manner, where you could cut costs for your business, thus improving your profitability. So don't always think about it as going up. Think about it as controlling the bottom line as well, can help increase that number. So just something to think about as we talk through these.
Yeah, what does Jay Townley always say? If you want to make more money, you could either make more money or spend less money.
Yeah.
So there's two ways you can do it there. We can also another path of profitability is informed buying strategies. This is a really, really challenging thing in our industry because, reps come in, they open their laptop and they say, what can I put you down for? And you order 15 bikes and 20 bikes show up. Great, here you go. This is a really, really challenging thing to solve. Having a clear and accurate view of your stock position as well as the performance of your products is the starting point of any purchase. CloudBoss provides easy data feeds from the suppliers and insightful reports that give you a better foundation to your buying decisions. Less of what you don't sell, more of what you do. So as we look further into buying later, we're going to look at some very clear data that says, this isn't doing so well, this is doing well. When you think about buying as it is now, a lot of it is gut instinct. A lot of it is confirmation bias. Well, I think this did really well. I bet you that color is going to do really well. This seems like a brand new, awesome product. People are going to want it. Let's buy a bunch of it. This can work. It absolutely can work. But when it does work, you don't know how. And when it doesn't work, you don't know how. So gut instinct and confirmation bias, especially in buying, has its place, but you absolutely want to build a strong foundation of good, clean, and clear data that says what you are about to do, your gut was right on this. Awesome job. You know what you're talking about.
And just one more,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Patrick, just one more piece of that to think about as we talk through this is, yes, the data is really important to understand what brands and suppliers and products are doing really well for your shop. I think you should keep in the back of your mind, do you have an efficient buying process? Are you using purchase orders? Are you using intelligent parts of your system to manage that buying process so you're not over ordering twice? You're able to use your inventory feedback to make informed buying decisions, which can efficiently be put onto purchase orders and driven through the system. So keep that process thing in mind as well.
You're absolutely right. One of the biggest struggles I see with retailers is that they have the right ideas in mind, like min maxes. And some shops will set min maxes on products, and that's great, right? But sometimes they do it with novel products, stuff that they don't have any experience selling. So they'll set min maxes right when they buy it, but they don't know how long it's going to take to sell. So they don't know when they need to reorder. So if it takes them 10 years to move through 5 products, the moment they get down to that minimum of 1, they order 4 more. So having the informed data, the really, really accurate data behind the performance of your product as you've had them will allow you to make really good decisions on buying for the future. And this goes much further into just min maxes and whether something's making you a good margin. It's also about how quickly it sells, how quickly you turn that product, and what your achieved margin is from it. Another path is through your service department. Tune up your service department. It's one of the highest potential profitability areas in your business is the service. It's essential that your service department is organized, streamlined, and connected. CloudBoss can help you turn your passive service structure into one that keeps working even outside of business hours. As a quick note on that, it's really easy to think of, okay, well, how can we just get more of the service that we have already? That kind of has this implication that the service you have is healthy. Most bike shop customers, we can tell them all the live long day, hey, every 25 hours, you need new wiper seals on your fork. Every 25 hours, 800 miles, you need a new chain. 900 miles, you need a new chain. The moment they leave, even if we've given their master class on this stuff, the moment they leave, they're like, it either works or it doesn't. Cool, right? And that's a big problem because it means to them, they are just going to keep going until something breaks. Now, That's great for us, right? Because something breaks, it means it's more expensive. Bigger repair, higher profitability. It's not the case. More complicated jobs typically are less profitable. The most profitable types of jobs are service. So regular service maintenance intervals, tune-ups, flat changes, installs, things that can be done with your eyes closed. You charge $80 for a basic tune-up and it takes you 20 minutes. Boom, that's very profitable. You want more of that. So when we talk about tuning up the service department, we talk about ways that we can make it so that that type of service becomes our regular type of service, not improving what we are already doing, turning it into something different.
And I'll harp on that again. The fact that you need to leverage the tool that you have to build a process that's efficient for your shop. So the tools that we offer will help create a best practice process to bring those in and move those through your service area. So that's part and parcel with having the tool to do it, is the process that the tool drives to help you get there.
Absolutely right. A lot of our structures, we try to build the understanding of what we mean by good data. And it starts with the very building blocks. It starts with the items. It starts with how you build out your system, how you understand your system, whether you're using it properly. To it, CloudPOS is all about quality data from the beginning to the very end, or end to end. What we're looking at here is a view into our product data. And you might notice if you have an exceptional eye, you might notice something here. We have a HLC as a supplier pulled up on the screen. All those part numbers that are viewed are HLC product codes. They're all HLC descriptions. The MSRP, the barcode, is all that data that comes directly from that supplier. Our system doesn't use any of what's known as instance-specific data. It's data that's specific just to your system. We don't do that. If you buy a product from HLC, the data in your system is now that HLC product information. So there's nothing that's only specific to your view of that system. No system ID, nothing like that. It is all HLC data or specialized data or QEP data, etc. We do this so that when you're going back through to figure out what you sold a lot of, you can not only see what you sold a lot of, but where you bought it from. So I want to see, oh, I did a lot through HLC, but maybe that product is purchased from a variety of suppliers. Well, we can see what we did a lot with because of our primary supplier and where we bought it from. So we can see where we want to put our dollars in the future. But the other reason we do this is to take the requirement off of you to suddenly become a data analyst, right? You don't need to suddenly have an amazing organizational metric for organizing your data in your system. We can provide that for you. We can provide that direct link to the suppliers. I'm sure Jim can speak a little more about that supplier relationship because that's his job.
Yes, as I mentioned at the top of this call, this is probably my favorite slide in the deck because I work really closely with suppliers. Having that accurate data, of course, the mileage may vary slightly depending on the supplier level of technology, how deeply the integration can go with us. But we have a very simple and basic template of data that we pull through, and we're able to achieve that in a number of ways. An interesting aside to this, kind of a side effect of this process, has been that a lot of dealers that begin using Citrus Lime and need to make a choice about who they're going to use as a supplier will look to the system to see the integrated suppliers, to look to see who they can add to their book of business, which is kind of an interesting aside. But our goal is to always have the most accurate and up-to-date supplier data coming directly from that supplier to keep the data integrity in the system as perfect as we possibly can.
And it shows when we start getting to the later end of reading our reports, having all this data very accurate can mean that we can trust the reporting that we're getting. It's not a guess anymore. It's yes or no. Are you profitable? Are you not? Did you make money from that sale or did you not? Or did you make enough money? So to it, we've got a very interesting report here. This is one of my favorite reports that we have. What we're looking at here is a chunk of a report called Seasonal Buying Planner. A seasonal buying planner is exactly what it sounds like. When you're buying for your business, most of the time you're buying in seasons. So you might do, let's say, a preseason order in October or November, right? You'll get that preseason order done with whomever. That stuff will ship in between February and March. You'll start getting that stuff ready for the floor. Maybe you'll do like a mid-season order. Like, okay, we either guessed wrong or, guessed too right. We need a little bit more product for the middle of the season. And so we would consider that seasonality buying. So we would think buying on a season. So that means that if I'm going to report on what I should buy for the 2026 season, I'm going to run a report on how well my season 2025 did, right? So I'm going to look at the data from this past year, specifically on buying. Now, we use a metric called weeks cover. Weeks cover is a very, very simple metric, although I do think it's a little bit new to the US. We kind of think of it the opposite of shelf life. Weeks cover is like this. Let's say I bought 50 sets of fenders 4 weeks ago, and now I have 10 left. Weeks cover says I have one more week covered for that product based on the rate that I've sold them so far. So on its own, weeks cover is very powerful. But you'll see weeks cover throughout a bunch of different reports in our system because it's so crucial to ranging and planning. Now, what we're looking at here is we have a department on the left. We have our brands, and this is real data, by the way, but we did go through and make sure that the brands are not explicit with who they are. We have quantity in stock. We have quantity sold. We have weeks cover, cost on hand, line revenue excluding tax, the line cost of goods, the margin, and the profit. I want to be really clear here. That margin is not the static margin of the product. So I bought it for $5 and I'm selling it for 10, that's 50% margin, right? No, if I sell it for $9, I did not get 50 points of margin. So our margin is always on what you actually achieve. So we call it achieved margin. Now, as we're looking through this, some of these brands are doing really, really well. So brand 1, I've got 5 in stock, I've sold 24, and I have 1.4 weeks covered given what I've left in the year, right? And if I'm at the end of the year, I did a really good job at figuring out what I need to buy, right? If I'm at the beginning of the year, I need to make sure I order more of brand 1 right now. And again, I can see my achieved profit. Now, if I have a really high weeks cover, a really low weeks cover, but my margin is not great, my profit's not great, I'm selling through that product, but I'm not making enough money off of it. Now, if we go a little bit down in the middle, we see brand 3 and 4. They're kind of right there in the middle. The margin's not great. I have a decent weeks cover. I'm selling through them enough. Maybe these are things like service items, right? Like SRAM chains or cool stop brake pads or whatever. There are things that I expect to have. I need to make sure that I have them, and I know that I'll sell through them in my service department. I know my department says mountain bikes, but you get my point. The last 2 brands are very concerning. So let's say we're at the end of the year, and I'm looking through at brand 5 and 6. I've got 12 in stock of brand 5, 4 sold, and I have 10, a little over 2 months covered for the stock that I currently have. If I'm looking through to do buying right now, I'm going to think, I probably am not going to put a lot of money into brand 5 and 6. Now, if that rep shows up, opens up his laptop and says, what can I put you down for? I'm going to open the seasonal buying planner. And I'm going to say, well, let's see how you did. I'm going to look through and see, well, I still have another 2.5 months worth of product that I already bought that hasn't sold. So we've got to figure out what we can do here. But then we go over to the end and we say, and I'm also only getting an 11.5% achieved margin. This is not ideal. This isn't looking good for my business, right? How am I going to keep the lights on with that? Now, granted, we keep looking at this as a whole and we could say, well, the bulk of my profit and the bulk of my margin is coming from these 2 brands. So maybe the brands that I'm only moving slowly have some sort of value. Maybe the add-ons are better. It's all about data. It's all about figuring out what questions are we answering, what questions are we generating with these reports. We've mentioned data a lot in this call. It's really important to look at, but it's also really important to know that you can be confident in what you're looking at. So we have an actual shop here of year-to-year growth for the previous 5 years. And as you can see, it drops off in August because we're only 5 days into August. Very, very minimal data to go through it. But all of our system, all of the data that we provide is to give you a point in time analysis of revenue, margin, and profit. We want you to be able to see what's happening while it's happening. I know Jim and I we're constantly talking to each other about, oh my God, this shop, they only know how well they did at the end of the very next year of them doing business. So when things happened in March and April, they're like, oh, we had a bad April, we had a bad March. We don't want that. We want you to be able to set goals. We want you to be able to clearly track those goals so that in the moment, you can say, this isn't working. I need to shift. I need to make a course correction so that I can meet my goals. It's really challenging to see all the different shops that simply don't have good and accurate data that they can trust. With our system, you can trust the data. You can trust that it's real because we can point to it. We can say, look, this is what you did. This is what you didn't do. Here's how you're doing on this goal. So we want you to be able to make changes, make course corrections when they're needed, not when you find out later at the end of the year from your accountant saying like, you're $50,000 on the hole. We want them to say you're $50,000 above like your expected goals. That's what we want. That's what the data is there for.
And probably overstating the obvious here, but obviously in the environment they're in, the ability to be agile and course correct in real time has become more and more critical. So, kind of harking back a little bit to the slide before as well, a lot of shops, as I went through my trade show season in the spring, had a lot of concerns about vendor relationships and which vendors were doing well for them and which vendors were not. Some didn't feel they had enough information to course correct quickly. If they had had some of the reporting that's available, they would have been able to make more informed decisions and potentially spend that money in a place that's going to increase their margin. So I think with, I'm not going to use the T word in this call because it's in every single call. But in light of the way that the market is trending, to be agile and have that course correction ability is incredibly, incredibly important. Also, if you want to drop in the chat, it would be super interesting for us to understand what everyone on the call is tracking. What data points are you guys looking at? What reports are important to you? What reports are you currently using to manage and run your business? I think it'd be interesting. We've pulled a few that we think are important. It'd be very interesting to hear from the folks on the call what data points and what KPIs or what measurements you're using today to look at your business and the health of it today. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, and if you're viewing this as a recording later, email us. Shoot us an email into citrusslime.com. We'll have our contact information at the bottom of this, but no pressure. Email us and tell us what kind of reports are important to you and what you want to track in your day-to-day. So obviously it's not just about the data. Like I was talking about earlier, if you think back to every point in time throughout your day-to-day work, right? Where'd that special order go? It's supposed to be on the shelf. Why isn't it here? It definitely got delivered. Why didn't you put notes on that QEP order so we know what customer this belongs to? Oh, I got this online order, but it's for a product that I can't find anywhere in my store. What the heck? What do I do right now? Do I have to issue a refund or whatever? There's all these little bits of time that chip away at what you have available to you in any given day to generate revenue from. Our goal is to help you spend less time on admin, more time on revenue. One of the biggest ways that we do this is, again, hark back to the tune-up for your service department. Service is a really difficult place to improve upon, and we have a number of tools at your disposal that will help you organize your service department. Make clearly here at the bottom left here, we have our scheduler. And quite literally a schedule that you can view by mechanic, by whole day, by work week, by month, however you want to view it. It's very flexible. But the goal is so that every mechanic that comes in becomes a production level mechanic. The moment they look at their page, they know exactly what they have on for today. They can contact that customer very easily, and they can make sure that that repair is done as efficiently as possible. Remember back, we were talking earlier about how we make sure that repairs are as service oriented, as service maintenance interval oriented as possible. This is part of the way that we do that, by making sure everything's listed out properly once it comes in. And we also have Book My Bike In. Book My Bike In is an amazing tool that allows customers to book service directly with you wherever they are. So we're meeting customers where they are on their phones. This means it comes directly into your workshop module as a built job. And this saves you a massive amount of time. So imagine two universes here. One customer, they're out riding their bike and they drop their bike, which they never do, right? They never drop their bike. Something happened. But they drop their bike and they bend their derailleur hanger a little bit. Now they're like, oh, it's ghost shifting now. What happened? I need to take this bike into the shop to get it fixed. So they ride, they put it in their garage, and they're like, I need to make sure I take that into the shop. Now we split it into two universes. The first universe, that customer has a way to be like, I'm going to book my service in right now and make sure that this gets fixed. They bring it in, $30 derailleur hanger adjustment tool. The bike shop is the hero. Oh my gosh, it shifts like a dream now. Thank you. Off you go. Great. Very profitable thing. You're on to the next repair, on to the next customer. The other universe, something happened in their life. They had something to focus on, take the kids to school, whatever, but they forgot all about that derailleur hanger. And with all the stresses of life, they're like, I need to let some stress out. I need to go ride my bike. They get their bike and they go ride, and they got Heartbreak Hill right at their front door. And they go to shift up into that big gear, and suddenly that derailleur goes straight in the spokes. Now, that's a new derailleur, new hanger, new chain, new wheel, and God forbid that derailleur didn't go into the carbon chainstay of that bike. Suddenly, this is a much more expensive repair. The customer's upset. You're like, I'll tell you what, I'll get you a discount on this, and I'll do this for you and whatever. And that's all. This could potentially be a really profitable repair, but it's going to take longer. Now that mechanic is sitting at the bench, it gets really busy in the shop. He has to go away from that bench to help a customer. Suddenly you're losing the margin on that very expensive repair. This is why those types of jobs are not as profitable. And honestly, makes the customer a little upset, right? They spent $3,000 on a bike and they got then $1,500 to replace these parts just because they forgot to check it in for service, right? It's their fault, right? Meet them where they are, and we can get them in the service department. We can get the workshop done. They have a notification saying, hey, you have a drop-off for next Wednesday in the morning. Drop off your bike. And then you're the hero, right? You're the hero that has the right tools for the customer.
One other thing I just like to point out is if you're looking at that schedule in the lower left-hand corner of the workshop module, one of the things that I've found in my experience over the last few years with Citrus Lime and dealers is the fact that when they start to use the workshop module, they start to notice gaps in their schedule that they can now fill in with smaller repairs. So they're generally able to, fill their days more, even if it's only minor things, filling in those small gaps. It translates to revenue in that day. So smaller jobs that they may have a half hour free or 45 minutes free that they didn't realize before, they can now put some type of service into those gaps to help boost the number of services per day going through the system. The other nice piece of that is there's a workshop efficiency report as well. So the data of how the mechanics are performing and how long specific jobs are taking is much easier to manage and kind of look at when you're using the workshop module as a tool with the visual scheduler.
Question.
You're absolutely right.
This tool for you both. So you mentioned how the mechanics at one shop were kind of sending the link directly to customers. Can you make this a widget on your website?
It is. Yeah, you can have it. It can be directly on the website. Yeah.
Sweet. And
whether or not you have our e-commerce, mind you. So if you have your own, if you have a WordPress site, we can put it on your WordPress site as well.
Awesome. Super versatile. And does it provide the customer with a quote when they enter their details like tire flat or whatever they may think it may be?
Yeah, so we have a list of services. It's completely up to the shop to list out whatever services they want on their Book My Bike in. One of the questions I got asked a lot is, how's the customer going to know what their bike needs when they're booking it online? And the answer is they don't, but you do, and you can tell them. So our workshop module, or our Book My Bike in, can be built out however you want. You can describe your tune-ups in any way. We have shops that say like every X number of miles. We have another shop that says like, is it making this sound? And it should be making this sound or whatever. Like, you can do whatever you want. So if it's a flat change, it can just be flat change. Your tube is flat. Please let us know whether it's tubeless or tubed, whatever. So yeah, there's any number of services that you can put on there.
Awesome. Great answer. Thank you.
One of the specific ways I find this to be really fun, because we've all been there, right? Book My Bike In, we often think about this like a customer's not there. Maybe it's like 12 o'clock at night, you're closed, or maybe they're out on a ride. And that's kind of the initial way we think about this. But we have shops that use it even in the store. So let's say you're short-staffed, 2 people called in sick. You got a line of people ready to check in service. They're getting frustrated, they're getting annoyed, they want to check in their bike. So you can say, hey, y'all, sorry, we're a little bit short-staffed today. We're going to try to get to everyone as quickly as we can. Do us a favor, scan that QR code on the wall right there. It'll take you to Book My Bike In, and you can start booking in service right then and there. So when you get up to us, the service is already written up, and we can just check in and make sure you have everything you need, and you're off to the races. Customers like that. Customers are like, oh, that's awesome. And I'll save this link for the future so that I can always have it at my disposal when I want to book service in. So there's any number of ways you can be creative with how to use Book My Bike In.
Right.
But most specific,
kind of done the admin part there. They've entered their name, email, address.
Yep.
Do you also maybe from the shops that are seeing great success from this? It's sometimes tough when you're rushing through, or that customer is like hot, sweaty. They're literally dropping off their broken bike or e-bike. Sometimes it's tough to get them to like stay for a second, like get the email, get the address, like get all of the information that you need. Do you find that it's a better capture rate when the customer is like self-serving, whether it's at home or through like an in-shop, which is a great idea?
That's a good question. The data that we're looking at in the bike industry shows or specifically in the US market, shows a pretty distinct change in how customers interact with service. Part of our service module is having automatic service reminders sent to customers, and some people choose to put a link to Book My Bike In. So they're in that service reminder. So the customer's not only getting reminded that they need service, but also that they should check it in this way. So the required data points are first name, last name, email address, phone number, which automatically get logged. So by very merit of them using this service reminder, they're getting all the information and tying it to an existing customer if there is one, or creating a new one if there's not, that has all that information. So the capture rate is 100% across the customers that are using Book My Bike In. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great little feature sometimes when it might be tough, it might be slammed.
Yeah.
Like, let me just get this tire change out, right? But this way it's kind of like, no, let's make sure we, mind the P's and Q's, get all the information we need to service them in the future, send them reminders if they're a commuter on an e-bike, hey, it's 3 months later, you're probably due for that sealant recharge or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and we do a lot of bookings through Book My Bike In. There's a whole lot more to it.
Yeah.
We are really at the tip of the iceberg in describing these features, but Book My Bike In, what we've seen it do is change how the service department works. Again, we have some shops that say customers are starting to bring in their bikes before the service reminder even gets sent out to them, the automatic service reminder. So it's like we're starting to educate the customers on this regular service maintenance interval, kind of like we all know cars need oil change every 5,000 miles. We're starting to do that. And it's, it's partly the tools that we're offering to the retailers, but also the retailer using it. They are the heroes using the tools for their customers. And it's because customers always have this thing with them. And if we make it that much easier to connect the retailer to the shop using that thing that they always have with them, we can start to influence how bike shops do business and the type of business that they do.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for that segue there. Appreciate it.
One little bit that I wanted to mention as well, this view down here at the bottom left with the scheduler, it's not showing one of the other really cool features that I love having been a service manager. Though each of those jobs can take up different lengths of the schedule. So you can have a job take up 3 hours worth of a schedule. So if a mechanic comes in, they can say, oh, I have a really big job in the middle of the day, or oh, I have several small jobs or whatever. So you can click and drag those to take up more or less time, which again, will also help production level mechanics get their work done efficiently. So the outcome to using the proper tools for your everyday business is less excess inventory, less discounting, improved efficiency, better cash flow, which ultimately all means more profit for the bike shops. We're not just saying become more profitable, we're saying this is how you become more profitable. How can we help? CloudPOS provides structure. At its core, that's what it is. It's a structure. when you look at all the different solutions that we have available to us as a bike industry, as the bike shop network in the US, we kind of have a lot of like choose your own destiny type of solutions, right? Well, you can have this point of sale in this e-com, or this point of sale in that e-com, or this texting platform and that whatever. There's no real structure. The structure is kind of left up to the shop. It's you build your operating system how you want to. But the reality is, bike shop owners have a hard enough job just running their business day to day, let alone trying to come up with a perfect, tried and true solution to how their business runs, how they get special orders to the right place, how they get this to that, how they make sure the customers are communicated with properly. We provide a structure. Our workflows, I think you've heard me mention a few times, our workflows are very linear. They are very, you do this, then this, then this. Step 1, 2, and 3. There's no skipping steps. There's no choose your own destiny. It is, you want to create an item, here's how you create an item. So we provide that true structure and the true end-to-end integration where you don't have to worry about fulfilling an e-com order that came in and wonder, oh, do we actually have that in stock? Did our point of sale send the right data over? Oh my goodness, am I going to have to refund this? No. Our e-com is a true reflection of the point of sale. It's not even really a separate thing. It's an extension of the point of sale. So it's a true end-to-end integration. We provide really comprehensive tools, usable tools, not like, hey, here's your login and password, good luck, but true comprehensive tools that do the job that bike shops need to do. We have hands-on support that never goes away. I know Jim's going to laugh at this. We have so many retailers that when we ask about the support they're experiencing, they're like, what support? What support? I've never had this happen. YouTube is my support. Our support is with real people who've worked in the bike industry, love bikes, understand your business, and it never goes away. We are always offering support. It's not an additional fee. It's you have us, you have support. And that kind of goes into, I think, another thing we alluded to earlier. We really want to partner with retailers. And we mentioned this a few times. We're not aiming to just be a provider. We want to work with you. If you need help, we want to help. We have a vested interest in helping bike shops succeed.
I think another part of the support piece as well is the fact that, which doesn't get mentioned as often, is training. So we offer a very comprehensive training. So if you have a new employee come in, you don't have to rely on, the day guy to train the night guy. We will be able to set up training with that employee through Citrus Lime to take the pressure off of the shop itself. If there's anything shop specific, of course, you can train them, but to learn the system, we can get that new employee, that new hire, set up in a training regimen that will get them up to speed on the software without involving the retailer having to handhold and get that employee up to speed. So that's one thing that is definitely differs from a lot of our other folks in this space.
Which leads really well into our modern retail approach. We address how consumer buying habits are changing, and not just that, but how the bike industry is changing. Part of the reason that we want to have such hands-on support is because we want to have a link. We want to have our ear to the ground for our bike shops. We want to know what's changing and how we can change with our retailers to help them sustainably for long periods of time. We also offer best-in-class reporting. You've seen, I can't even impress enough, you've seen this much of reporting up till now, like almost none, given that what we showed you. We have so much very, very powerful reporting that can help you understand what happened yesterday, how things are going today, and what might happen tomorrow. All of our reports are based on clear and accurate data that we build from suppliers, then by your database, by your activities as a bike shop, so we can give you really good and accurate data. Your profitability really should not be a guessing game. Please get in touch with us. We want to help you. We offer a very, very soft sell. I mean, Jim and I can both tell you all the live long day about how we talk to retailers for sometimes a really long time before we understand what type of solutions they need and whether we can offer them. You can approach us as consultants because at the beginning, we really are just consultants. We want to help you. I think we're very aligned. I think I've spoke to Megan and Heather and Melanie about this. We're very aligned with the P2 program and what we want to help retailers with. Some of it's really hard work, but we want to do it with you. We're not going to just tell you, go be profitable. We're going to say, well, let's talk about how profitable you are now and figure out whether that's what you want to change or not, and whether we can help you change it.
Awesome. And as you mentioned that too, I'll just pop a link in here for any NBDA members on the call. Log into your account, member savings on our page, and you'll see Citrus Lime has a great offer. So if you're hopefully like many of you joining are kind of considering maybe looking to swap POS, or maybe you are an existing Citrus Lime customer, just kind of wanting to see what's new, get back in touch. Follow that link. Definitely a nice offer there. And we do have two other questions I'd love to get your insight on. So one, I think, I can imagine, I recall this being an issue as well. This is in the older software days, but transitioning existing POS information, right? How does Citrus Lime support that? Obviously have a lot of hands-on customer support. So I imagine there's some, kind of more tactical resources there than a PDF file that has like some pretty succinct things, right? Specifically in this question, inventory and customer base, transitioning that info from a prior POS.
That's all very, very easy. So customer information is by far the easiest because there's no real change between last name, first name, email address, etc. That's all very easy. Product information can be a little trickier. So we have customers transitioning to us from a lot of different types of point of sales, and I don't want to mention any of them specifically by name. But one of the biggest changes that customers see with our system versus old systems, and I would say pretty confidently all of the other systems that exist, have very minimal requirements for data accuracy. One of the main systems only requires a name to create an item. That's all it needs. You can buy an item, sell an item, return it, order it, whatever you want with just a name. It doesn't care about anything else. It doesn't care about MSRP, how much you paid for it. You can put all that information in there, but it's not required. You'll find with our system that there are three main ways to create items. There's a manual creation and item import, which you would use during onboarding, getting your information from another system, or you mentioned this a couple times, SIM. SIM is where we get that data for the product that you have in your hands directly from the supplier that you bought it from. All of those ways of creating items have significantly higher data requirements than other systems require for even manual creation. So the reason I say all this is if you are using a system that you did not go into great detail on the data for your products, it might be a little more challenging to get that data out. However, our support team and our onboarding team are very well versed in that at this point, and we can help you get all your data into the system in as accurate as a position as possible from the get-go. In many ways, it kind of is like starting from scratch with your data and getting clear and accurate data about your product at the very beginning.
And there's certainly a level of education there too of like, hey, I haven't been tracking this, or we've entered a lot of these custom SKUs for maybe our fitter sessions, and now you're kind of understanding why that may not be great, what you need to know, and how to make it better in the next rounds. And that kind of segues into our last question here. So for a shop, maybe in the case of a mobile shop here, that's not using larger distributors as frequently, they're more specialty, so using multiple smaller vendors. Obviously, you have manual creation. Is there any tips you can point towards, like how Citrus Lime works with, smaller vendor imports, whether it's purchase orders or just, getting that good data around, maybe real specialty or kind of one-off type items?
Jim, do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so we're always striving to include even the smallest of vendors in our supplier integration. So we are always welcoming to get an introduction, and we will work with that supplier to get a data feed. The only time I've hit a snag is I've run into some suppliers that don't even have UPC codes. They're that small, which then becomes really challenging. But generally what I find is if they're that small, we as a team can work to build out a data file that will work for them. So if we can get some of the basic information from the vendor, we can actually help create those supplier integration files in our system to help those smaller vendors Yeah, there's no size vendor requirement. We'll work with anyone that's
Okay.
willing to help us with the data. So we'll always figure out a way to get that information accurate and set up in their system.
Love it. So if there is that like small trike parts company,
Yeah,
um, reach out,
yeah,
right? Just kind of make that
yeah,
introduction
please.
and
Yeah, I think my last favorite one was I had a guy that sold those little finger skateboards, and I was dealing with the guy in Germany, and he had no UPC codes, but he had some basic descriptions, and we just worked with him to kind of come up with a way to create a file so that they were available in the client system. So we'll always
Yeah.
figure out a way to make it simple and easy for them to order.
that's a
And
huge
if
flip.
if
Yeah,
you're a supplier and listening to this, we want to work with you.
Agreed.
All the only thing that it costs you as a supplier is a little bit of time.
sure.
And if you don't have the proper database, part of our job is to help you create that proper database. If you're a retailer and looking at our number of SIM providers and don't see a supplier that you carry, it's probably because we've never took on a client that has that product yet, that has that product line. So usually when a retailer signs on and they have a novel supplier that we've never, done an integration with, that supplier becomes the priority because now we have a new retailer that carries them, right? So suppliers, by all means, reach out to us. Retailers, if you want a specific supplier, let us know. Create an introduction for us. Give us the warm
Yeah,
hand up.
for sure.
Great. I love the networking side effects of this too, because it's kind of like, oh, cool. Now we know this company exists, or like how this
Yeah.
retailer is using these guys is really unique. And yeah, absolutely love that. I am going to pop your information in the chat here too. And you can kind of always obviously get in touch with you both from the Citrus Line website too. Ton of great information there. I linked to the book in app as well. So yeah, QR code, scan it, get in touch. And thank you both for just a really informative discussion-based presentation here and also inviting in those retailers or suppliers that might not be partnered with you yet and seeing where you can go from there. That's great.
Yeah,
Of
thanks so
course.
much for the opportunity, and thanks to everyone who attended. And please just reach out if you want to have a chat, answer any questions. We're just happy to talk to you, and we're always available.
We genuinely are. We
Sure.
love talking to bike shops. I probably stay on longer than I should after business hours to just take calls from bike shops and talk to them.
Right.
It should be noted that we covered a very, very small sliver of both the data requirements, the paths to profitability in this webinar. There's a lot more to it. So if we didn't specifically speak to your story, it doesn't mean we can't cover it. So please contact us, tell us your story, let us figure out how and if we can help you.
Awesome. Love it. Really appreciate you welcoming everyone to contact you. That says a lot about how customers can expect to work with you down the road as well. So thank you everyone for joining today for a Citrus Line webinar. This recording will be available as well for our members. And for anyone watching, please keep your eye on the NBDA calendar for a very full August of events, super webinars, supplier sync sessions, retail university classes coming up. And we hope to see you all in person soon too, next season. So thank you again. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, guys.